we are discussing about Constitution, Indian Constitution, and we are going to discuss some historical part of that. So you are aware that in earlier lectures we started this lecture that is from British rule, and then onwards we discussed till 1857, that is revolt. They say that's mutiny of Sepoy or Indian National Freedom Struggle, and then we discussed that Government of India Act of 1858. Now, henceforth, Britishers, that means Indians actually, were directly under control of British Parliament. So what was difference? Till 1858, there was government that was ruled by British East India Company and answerable to Parliament, British Parliament. But now British Parliament took direct control over India. And then they started making certain reforms directly with India. Now keep in mind that why such things were required. Let us, we are discussing something in respect to philosophy, in respect to history. We are going to discuss this all. Number one, if you are studying out the teachings given by Aristotle to Alexander, answer lies there. What Alexander was taught, that world is divided into two parts. One is Greek and other is non-Greeks. So Greek part is very well developed part. Non-Greek is totally undeveloped part. And what is your duty? Your means what? Alexander's duty to conquer non-Greeks and convert them to Greeks or Greek-like people. Now same thing is followed by Britishers. They conquered, only we have to replace word Greek by British. So they conquered non-British. Maximum part of world was conquered by Britishers only. And then they started converting them like Britishers. For that purpose I am communicating with you in English. I am wearing shirts like that, British only, dresses are like British only. So this is actually a massive concept, that conversion or imposing one's culture over others' culture. Whether it was necessary or not necessary, that is a different question. But Britishers started this. Now not only clothing style, not only language, but all respect we have to get same to same like Britishers. This was their maximum efforts at that time. That's why they introduced English education. They created a value for English education. Then they started imposing a rule that is called as parliamentary democracy in India. Now we have to revise once again that if you studied various empires in the world, right from Persian Empire, then Greek Empire, that is under rule of Alexander. After Alexander also, Greek Empire was very vast. Genghis Khan's empire, that is single man, largest empire in the world, and what not. You will find that with very, very fewer examples, not a single dynasty or a single rule was able to survive over thousands of years. Usually, three phases are there in the life of an empire. First one, that is the creation. At that time, everybody is in enthusiasm. They are having very good working, very good understanding and all that. And therefore, they are able to build a vast empire initially. The second phase, we are calling that is a stagnancy phase. That is, we are the emperor, we are ruling over you. Like that status is there. And the third state that is there, that is the declining. If you check this thoroughly, this is there. If you are going through history, then various empires passed out through these states only. Very few examples are there where after declining, they regain the status for a while once again. And then again they lost. For example, Satavahan. So again Scythian Satavahan lost out. But later on they regained the structure and emerged out as vast emperors in India. But later on they degraded. So this way we can discuss Now Britishers were aware of all these things, particularly after Renaissance or beginning of Renaissance only, they started developing their empire, and now they were having dream to run Indian empire or say British Empire in India for longer period. They were also aware that this is not a perpetual empire, but as long as we can stretch, we have to stretch the extent of empire. Now, they were having threat that from one side, that means from Afghanistan side, Russia, at that time it was Russia, then it became USSR, but that is very latter phase. Russia was advancing towards India, and Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, like that countries were already annexed by Russia. And so they made Afghanistan as a buffer state between Russia or Russian Empire and British Empire in India. So, same way, another threat was there, that was from China at that time. And so they made Tibet as a buffer state between China and British India. No doubt, China was not at that time that great. Soon, Britishers realized the strength of China, and then they made their influence centers in China, that is apart. But now their empire was made safe from external attacks. Internally, it was called as a garrison state. That means the state which is depending upon army. Largely they were controlling Indians because of their vast army. But if this type of states are there, then there are chances that certain movement can crush this empire. Say for example, revolt happened, that was in 1857. That is actually first freedom struggle of India. But many people refer this as mutiny of Sepoy. So like that, internal threat is also there. And then large number of people should support Britishers at that time. That was their plan. And for that purpose, they decided Indians to be there in their government also. Initially, that means from 1757 onwards, Britishers were focusing, see the phases in their ruling system. They were focusing to get maximum control in Britishers' hand, particularly company's hand. But then onwards, they use the policy. These policies are called as decentralization. So, if you are aware that charter acts were there, accordingly, they considered that Governor of Bengal should be considered as Governor General at that time, and Governor of Mumbai, that is Bombay at that time, and Madras at that time, they were under direct control of Governor of Bengal. So like that, concepts were there. Now later on, in 1858 rather, that Governor General was renamed as Viceroy. Now what was the situation, as we discussed, that there was a Secretary of State, means if I am showing here, then this is the crown. Crown means British Emperor, so-called nominal king. No much power was there in his hands or her hands, but maximum we are considering that everything was carried out by Parliament in name of Her Majesty or His Majesty, that was crown. Then this was Parliament, British Parliament. Out of that British Parliament, a department was there, we can say. Here a person was there, that is called as Secretary of State. Secretary of State was having his representative in India, now he termed as Viceroy. So this is actually Indian king or Indian emperor. Okay, Indian emperor, that was called as Viceroy, that was under control of Secretary of State. Then there were councils. Now initially they were having two councils, that is Legislative Council and Executive Council. Then for provinces also they decided to give councils. And later on there was another thought